One observation is that at the core of the success of the American Research University has been the balance between the public and private educational enterprise. The second observation is that in recent years, we see that this balance has been impaired. And for us who work for public institutions, we see that their mission is at risk. And the question I would like also to phrase to my presentation is, what exactly do we need to do, or what kind of debate do we need to initiate to be able to address that lack of balance, and how it is that we can repair it. For those of you who have spent attention to international rankings, you will probably know that a number of them are published in Europe, in Asia, and in the US. And if you look closely, you will find out that the top places in those assessments and surveys are US private institutions of higher education. And many of them belong to that group we call in the US the Ivy Leagues. Now, there's no coincidence to this observation. Most of these rankings, directly or indirectly, measure wealth, or what wealth can provide for the institution. Now, for those of us who are in the US or for others around the world who pay attention to US rankings, you will know that the most popular is the one that has been published for many years, I believe since the early 1980s, by the US News and World Reports. On these rankings, specifically the US News one, you will have to go down by a number of places before you find the first public institution. And if you look now at those rankings over many years, you will find out that the public institutions are losing ground in that assessment on the basis of what this assessment tries to provide. So in parallel, in addition, I should say, to these popular national assessments or international assessments, you will also find some statewide publications that rank universities on the basis of cost. And again, the same public institutions would struggle to make it in those other surveys will also find themselves struggling again in those state surveys, primarily because they are found to be too expensive. So in the past 20 years, public research universities are losing ground both in the private and public opinion, and for different reasons. These assessments combined are pointing to a national crisis on how the public perceives higher education and the role of the research public university in the life of the nation. For the past 50 years, we have been looking very intensively to affordability, access, and accountability. And those have been key issues facing public higher education in the US. Public concerns about the ability to access low-cost, high-quality education have intensified in response, of course, to recent trends of economic downturn and to the outsourcing of US manufacturing. In addition, national debates are underway about the American competitiveness and the US workforce ability to adjust to global economic pressures and technology shifts. The question of accountability is coming up and has received so much attention in recent years that it has been transformed into a national movement. Most recently, a national committee appointed by the Secretary of Education, Margaret Spellings, in the US, insisted on the importance of measuring educational impact and demands that public institutions accept and meet their responsibility to provide high-quality education. Because of these issues of affordability, access, and accountability, and because they are primarily driven by socioeconomic forces, present economic trends in the US are shedding new light on these old concerns. And now we see one more coming to us, and it's the new national debate concerning the growing financial gap within the US public and private institutions of higher education. This debate focuses on the perceived or real impact of this gap on the ability of the public institution of higher education to educate the citizens, the public in general, I should say. What intensifies this national dialogue is the fact that public and private institutions compete in the same arena to recruit talent and to set national standards and norms. At the same time, however, these institutions conform to entirely different budgetary models, financial constraints, and methods for accountability, which make this competition imbalanced. Complicating this dialogue even more is the fact that public and private academic enterprises enact the dialectic relationship between collective action and private goals. And most importantly, in the American society, this relationship is very critical, has been. As a result, the recently growing gap between private and public universities points to the struggle within our society to reconcile our values and our commitment to our social contract with our goals to increase personal wealth and to promote private interests. In the past few years, public higher education has been under attack to an extent unprecedented in American history. The growing gap in resources might be seen as the result of the remarkable wealth accumulated in many private institutions at a time when the publics face serious financial challenges. In reality, however, this rift is the symptom of a deeper crisis facing the American nation. The widening gap of wealth and what it can buy between the Ivy Plus universities and the great public universities, research universities, presents a problem for the whole nation. And this problem is too large and too important to be solved by the growing notion that public should back off from high-powered science and engineering research and instead focus on social sciences and the humanities. Our understanding of what is a private or a public university or private or public education does not hold up very precisely through history. In a tradition that reaches back nearly 1,200 years, most European universities provided an exclusive and high-quality education to those who had the wealth and/or status to afford it. These universities educated a select group of wealthy students, some of them exceptionally talented, who could afford to spend a few years in a secure environment of a boarding school to receive an education that would serve them well as members of the elite society. Graduates of these universities included great scientists, mathematicians, philosophers, composers, and artists who changed the world with their intellectual and artistic creations. However, the impact of the work of these great minds was not fully realized until the rest of the society was given the opportunity to share this intellectual wealth and learn from it.